factor. So humidity, it is the humidity amount of water vapor present. Water vapor or moisture. So we'll be measuring. So humidity is nothing but it is measure of dampness. That is how much water vapor is present in air, in atmosphere. So humidity is how much, it is a measure of dampness of air, in air, how much water vapor is present in atmosphere, in air. So it varies from, humidity varies from place to place, varies from place to place as well. It varies during the day, that is at different times of the day it varies. So different time of day. So for example, in equatorial region, during morning time, humidity is high. Okay, humidity varies from place to place. It varies from day to from time of the day. It is morning, afternoon, evening. It keeps on varying from time to time as well. So humidity is nothing but amount of water vapor or moisture present. So this amount of water vapor present in air, it keeps on varying. It keeps on changing. And now humidity, how it can be measured? It can be measured as absolute humidity. So first is absolute humidity. Absolute humidity means amount of water vapor present in air. Amount of water vapor present in air. And how it is measured? It is measured in gram per meter cube. Gram per cubic meter of air. So what we are doing, we are taking 1 cube of meter. 1 cube of air. So 1 cubic metric air we take, and how much grams of water is present there. So in 1 cubic meter of air, 1 cubic metric of air, how much water is present, how much water vapor is present, that is the measurement, and that measurement is called absolute humidity. Humidity means amount of water vapor present in gram per cubic per meter cube. So in volume of 1 meter cube of air, how much water is present in grams? That is absolute humidity. This is clear?
Yes, sir.
There is one more term, relative humidity, and mainly we'll be using this term, relative humidity. So when we discuss rainfall and other things, this term we'll be using mostly, relative humidity rather than absolute humidity. Okay, absolute humidity is nothing but at any place, at any time of the day, if you measure how much water vapor is present in grams in 1 cubic meter of air, okay, that will provide us absolute humidity. Relative humidity, it is a ratio. It is a ratio. And so if ratio does not have any unit, so there will be no unit of relative humidity. It will be denoted in percentage. Okay, so now we discuss what do we mean by relative humidity. Relative humidity, it's a ratio, that means there will be one numerator and the denominator. So it's a ratio, it means amount of water vapor present. So what is the actual amount of water vapor present in air to the amount of vapor, to the maximum amount of vapor water can air can hold. Air can hold at that temperature. So here what we are doing, see for example relative humidity, how we are going to calculate the relative humidity. We measure the amount of water vapor present in air. For example, at this time of the day, at this particular temperature, Divya, please switch off your camera. So relative humidity, what is, it's a ratio. Ratio of what? Two terms are there. First, we measure the amount of water vapor present For example, at this time of the day, I have measured what is the amount of water vapor present. Okay. Now, what is the amount of water vapor this air can hold at this temperature? Maximum amount of water vapor it can hold to, okay, 1 minute. Divyashri, please switch off your camera. Relative humidity. It is amount of vapor present to the maximum amount of vapor air can hold at the temperature. Divya, please switch off your camera. Just a minute. Okay. So see here, relative humidity, what is the actual amount of vapor present in air? Okay. What is the actual amount of vapor present in air? Okay. To the maximum amount, that is total amount of vapor that air can hold at that particular temperature. Okay. So in denominator will be the total amount of vapor that air can hold to its maximum limit. Okay. So in denominator, we are having maximum amount of vapor air can hold at that particular temperature. Okay. So, and relative humidity. So relative humidity is defined as amount of water vapor present. What is the actual amount of vapor present in air to the maximum amount of vapor air can hold at that temperature. So relative humidity is measured in terms of percentage. Okay. If I say relative humidity is 50%, if relative humidity is 50%, that means air is holding half of the moisture. Air is carrying half of the moisture to which it can hold. If relative humidity is 50%, it means air is holding half the amount of water vapor of the maximum amount which it can hold. Okay, so in air, half of the amount of vapor is present to which maximum it can hold. If I'm saying 80%, it means 4/5 of the total amount of vapor it can hold. Vapor present is how much? It is 4/5 of the total amount the air can hold. Total amount of water vapor that air can hold. Okay. If I say 100%, 100% means now the air it can hold, it is carrying the maximum amount of water vapor that it can hold. This is clear? So relative humidity, how we define? It is defined in terms of percentage. It is the actual amount of vapor present in air to the maximum amount of vapor that it can hold at that temperature. Okay. If it is 50%, it means it is holding half of the total amount of vapor it can hold. If I'm saying 80%, it means it is holding 4/5 of the total amount of vapor that it can hold. If 100%, then it has reached its limit. This air has reached its limit to hold the moisture at that particular temperature. Now see here, as the air is having relative humidity of 100%, that means it has reached its limit. It can no more hold the moisture. At this point, this air is called as saturated. The air is called as saturated. It is saturated with water vapor. It cannot hold more moisture. Now what happens? If condensation takes place, if little bit more moisture, now what happens? After 100%, now saturation takes place. If any little bit cooling take place, little bit cooling, that means even a slight bit difference in temperature, drop in temperature, what will happen? Condensation will take place. Condensation takes place, this water vapor will convert into water. This water vapor will convert into liquid now, and small droplets will be formed. Okay. Now see it again. So we have the air and its moisture content is increasing. Okay. Now as the relative humidity becomes 100%, that means now this air is saturated. And the temperature here at which the air becomes saturated, this temperature will be called as dew point. This is called as dew point. That means if this is the point at which the air is saturated, okay, and this is the temperature at which this air is saturated. Now it's slight bit reduce in this dew point, slight bit decrease after this dew point. Like if now the temperature decreases, it means cooling take place. Even if slight bit cooling take place, this vapor will get converted into moisture or in water droplets. This will get converted into water droplets. Understood this one? This will get converted into water droplets. Water droplets are formed. So here the condensation takes place below the dew point. Okay. At dew point, air gets saturated. Understood this one? So relative humidity we have discussed, saturation we have discussed, dew point we have discussed, condensation we have discussed. So relative humidity. Okay. So where is the moist air mainly? Moist air means air is containing water vapor, whereas dry air means air is containing no water vapor or very negligible amount of water. So moist air mainly in the equatorial region, and dry air mainly in the deserts. So here the relative humidity will be very low. In deserts, relative humidity will be very low. That means dry air is there. It is containing very, very less amount of water vapor. That means amount of actual water vapor contained is very less as compared to the maximum amount of water vapor the air can hold at that temperature. So in desert areas, relative humidity is very, very less. Whereas in equatorial region, the relative humidity is quite high. It is quite high. It can be around 80%, or it can mainly it's around 80%. When it reaches 100%, the rainfall takes place. Okay. Now we discuss clouds, how the clouds are formed. So we have discussed relative humidity, and it varies with temperature. Relative humidity varies with temperature. How it varies we'll be discussing now, okay? Along with how the clouds are formed, okay? So for example, we are having, okay, this is the surface of, yes?
Sir, in 13th chapter, chapter, that in outside question we have to write that all the parts A, B, C, D, and E.
A you have to write, B you have to write, C, D, E as well, all the parts. Okay, no need of
Okay,
writing questions. No need of writing questions. Write the answers.
sir,
Okay,
only answers.
only answers. So now
Okay, sir.
we'll be discussing how the clouds are formed along with the variation in relative humidity with temperature. See, a relative
Sir?
humidity depends on temperature. How it depends will be discussed. Yes.
Sir, in the 13th chapter up to 13 I have completed. A13 I have completed.
Okay.
In that I have written the question and rest I did not write. No problem.
No problem. All okay. Okay. So relative humidity we will be discussing how it depends on temperature, how it varies with temperature. Okay. So absolute humidity, no discussion with the no relation with temperature kind of. Okay. Because we are just measuring absolute humidity. We are just measuring what is the amount of vapor present in air. Okay. But relative humidity, it depends on temperature as well. How it depends, we'll be discussing now. Okay. For example, here, take this air near the surface of the ground. Okay. Now it is moist air. Okay. Moist air, it is having some relative humidity. Some relative humidity it will be having. Okay. Now see here. Here the temperature considered as 30 degrees Celsius. Okay. Relative humidity 30 at the temperature 30 degrees Celsius we have measured and consider it as 50% we consider. Okay. Relative humidity is 50% near the ground surface 30 degrees Celsius. Now this air rises. This air is rising. Air is rising. Somewhere in between we take. Okay. Here as air rise, what happens? It expands. As air rise, it expands. Pressure will be less. It expands. Pressure less. Air expands. Air expands. Then cooling take place. Air expands, adiabatic cooling. So cooling take place. As cooling take place, what will drop? Temperature reduces. Temperature reduces. Now, how as temperature reduces, it impact the relative humidity. Here, relative humidity will become around 70. For example, it becomes 70 degrees. So how the relative humidity varies? It was the same air, but here the temperature changed and relative humidity increased. How it varies with temperature. Just see here, for relative humidity, what was the formula? Okay. Actual amount of vapor present in air or actual amount of water vapor present to the total amount or the maximum amount of vapor air can hold. Okay. So actual amount of water vapor present is same, but maximum amount of water vapor air can hold. It varies with temperature. It varies with temperature. How it varies? For example, if I take cold air, temperature is less, cold air, temperature is less. Now cold air can hold how much moisture? We already studied that if air is cold, the maximum amount of water vapor it can hold decreases, is less. Whereas warm air, it has more capacity to hold the moisture. So see here, if we have the air, as we increase the temperature of the air, the amount of capacity, the capacity of the air to hold the moisture increases. So as temperature increases, capacity to hold moisture increases. Always remember this one. Okay. So cold air has less capacity to hold the moisture. Cold air has less capacity to hold the moisture. Okay. Cold air will hold less moisture as compared to warm air. Warm air can hold more moisture. It has more capacity to hold the moisture. So as temperature increases, As temperature increases, maximum amount of water vapor air can hold increases. Maximum amount of vapor air can hold increases. So relative humidity increases or decreases. As temperature increases, relative humidity relative humidity increases or decreases. Anyone in class?
Decreases.
It decreases because see a denominator increases because as temperature increases, maximum amount of water vapor that it can hold, that capacity increases. This denominator increases, that means relative humidity decreases. And if temperature decreases, relative humidity increases. As temperature decreases, maximum amount of water vapor air can hold also decreases because air is getting cold and cold. Air is getting cold and cold. So as temperature decreases, relative humidity increases. Relative humidity increases because maximum amount of vapor air can hold decreases. Therefore, relative humidity increases. This is clear. So this relation will be using here. So see here, air was moist. Now as it rises, the amount of water vapor present is same. But see here, as it rises, it get cooled by expansion. It could get cooled by expansion, and cooling take place, temperature decreases. Therefore, here relative humidity increases since maximum amount of water vapor air can hold at that temperature as well decreases. So here it was 30 degrees Celsius. Here you can take as 20 degrees Celsius. So relative humidity increased. Now it further rises. At some point, at some height. Expansion is continuously taking. Temperature decreasing. Now at some point, relative humidity becomes 100%. Take as temperature at any you can take around 2 degrees Celsius. We take for example. Okay, at 2 degrees Celsius, at this particular place, here at this height, relative humidity becomes 100%. Now, as it becomes 100%, what happens? Now, relative humidity becomes 100%. It means it at this moment the air is holding the amount of water vapor to its maximum limit. It cannot hold more. So at this point, what will happen? Now, any further decrease in temperature, any further cooling, what will happen? This water will get converted into droplets. So, tiny droplets will be formed, very tiny droplets. Their size can be of 1,000th of centimeter. Okay, 1,000th of centimeter, their size can be. Their droplets are mainly of this size. Okay, 0.001 centimeter. These droplets are very small droplets. So they suspend in the atmosphere. They get suspended, they float with air. So these suspended air droplets, these are water droplets, these are called as clouds. Clouds are nothing more but these suspended water droplets, small water droplets. These small droplets, these are called as clouds. They get suspended in the air. This is clear how the clouds are formed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we can discuss different kinds of clouds. Okay, and afterwards we will make these clouds rain when we discuss the precipitation. Okay, just go through it once if you have any doubt. So till now we have discussed humidity, then absolute humidity, then relative humidity we have discussed, and now we'll be using mainly the relative humidity only. It is expressed in percentage. And always remember, as temperature increases, relative humidity decreases. So they are inversely related. Okay. Now we discuss the different kinds of clouds. So clouds are nothing but suspended water droplets in atmosphere. They get suspended, they float with air as well. So you've seen the movements of clouds. Can anyone tell what is the unit in which we measure the clouds? This is not in book. Unit in which clouds are measured. Or you have seen something like this.
Sir, octa.
No, sir.
Sir, OKTA.
Okay, dear. Searched on net. Yes or no? Octa, that is in this circle represents 8. How much like it this is? 4 by 8, that is half of the atmosphere is clouded, half is clear. Here it is 2 by 8. That means it is 6 by 8. 6 by 8. 6 part of the atmosphere is clouded and 2 by 8 is clear. This is the whole atmosphere is clouded. That is, at particle place, it is whole clouded. This is octa. Okay. Now we discuss different kinds of clouds. So they are classified based on. So here, if you draw like this, height. So here, from the ground level, at the height of 7,000 feet, and here around 20,000 feet. Okay. And here around 40,000 feet. So some clouds will be here, some clouds will be here, some clouds will be here. This height may vary. It may be 18,000 somewhere or 16,000 it may be. Okay. So these are high clouds. These are medium clouds, that is mid, and these are low clouds. So as height increases, clouds are named as low clouds, medium clouds, high clouds. Medium clouds mainly we use prefix as alto. Here, high clouds mainly these will be cirrus clouds. Cirrus clouds, and okay. So first we start with high clouds. High clouds. What are cirrus clouds? Cirrus. What do you mean by cirrus? This word. What do you mean by cirrus? It is feathery-like structure. When the clouds are feathery-like structure, F-E-A-T-H. Feathery-like or wispy. Wispy, that is, some hairs are there, few hairs extended together. So these clouds are like this, feather-like or wisps-like. Okay, like this structure. These clouds are. Okay, you can see in book as well. See in book, it is page number. Okay, see in book page number 128. See in book page number 128, figure 14.2. On the top, see cirrus. You can see the wisp-like structure, feather-like structure. On the top, right corner, cirrus. Cirrus clouds you can see, the wisp-like, feather-like structure are there. You can see that. So these are cirrus, okay? So in this high clouds, we have the cirrus clouds. Okay, so next is cirrocumulus. Cirrocumulus and cirrostratus, I think. Cirrostratus. Okay, so in high clouds, we have the cirrus. These are feather-like structure. Now, cirrocumulus. What do you mean by cumulus? These are like heap-like. Heap-like, like cotton. Heaps are there. One over the other. Like heaps are being put, like cotton balls are there, they have been put one above the other. So cirrocumulus. These are heaps-like structure. Or you can see like small globes of cotton are being placed in space. Okay, you can see there cirrocumulus. Small cotton-like structures are there. So small, these are in globular shapes. Mainly they are in globular shapes. Like a globe they are. Like small globes they have put in the sky, in the atmosphere. Okay, cirrocumulus So in high clouds, mainly cirrus will be used as prefix. Cirrus, cirrocumulus, cirrostratus. So cirrus we already discussed, the feather-like structure. Cirrocumulus, it's the heap-like, cotton-like they have been placed. Small globes of cotton-like they have been placed. Okay. Now cirrostratus. Stratus means layer, layering. These clouds are being layered. These cirrus clouds, they are being in layers. So you can see there, cirrostratus. There are small layers of strands are there. Small layers are being there, one above the other. So cirrus here discussed, the feather-like structure, cirrocumulus, those are the cotton-like structure in cirrus, okay? Like puffy or that one. And cirrostratus, these cirrus clouds, they are in stratus, that is, they are in layers, okay? So high clouds, cirrus, cirrocumulus, cirrostratus. This is clear? Now, in medium clouds, we'll be using alto as a prefix. It means medium, middle one. Alto means middle. It is a prefix, it's called middle. So we'll be alto, cumulus, and alto stratus. Okay. Again, you can see these clouds, alto cumulus, like these cotton strands, they are arranged there in middle clouds. And alto stratus, these are the kind of layers. Again, this is clear. Now in the lower layer, many are there. So we start with the lowest, that is stratus. Stratus, it means layers. Layers are there. In this, there will be one more word, nimbus. Nimbus means dark cloud. The cloud which is dark, that is nimbus. Dark gray cloud. Gray, and mainly it is related with rains. If it is very dark and gray, it means it is going to rain. This nimbus is related with rain. So you can see this stratus, then see cumulonimbus. Cumulonimbus, feather-like structure again, and nimbus little bit grayish is there. These are cumulonimbus. Cumulus clouds you can see quite shaped. In the figure 14.2 you can see feather-like structure. Flat base is there on that puffy like this. So flat base, then you can see these rounded like structures. So if flat base is there, cumulus, and feathery like structure is there. You can see cumulus. Now nimbostratus you can see in the backside of the cumulus. It is dark gray, and again different layers are being arranged. And stratocumulus on the top you can see. Okay, again kind of layers one above the other. So these are the cloud types. So cloud types is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we discuss the dew, mist, fog. And afterwards we'll start with precipitation. Okay. So in next lecture we will go with the rain. So dew point we already discussed. When saturation is 100%, at that temperature is called as dew point. And further cooling below dew point will lead to formation of water droplets. That is, condensation will take place. At dew point, condensation will take place. So first we discuss dew. So it mainly happens in winter. In winter we have seen. That is, the leaves or the plant flowers or the rocks, what happens? Water vapor is present in the atmosphere. So dew point is reached and small water droplets are formed. That is, water vapor present in the atmosphere that condenses on these leaves, stones, or the grass. So what happens here? How the dew is formed? In winter, mainly here during night, these surfaces, they are very cold. These surfaces are very cold. So as water vapor in the air comes in contact with these cold surfaces, it gets cooled. The water vapor, the air gets cooled. The water vapor, dew point is reached, and that water vapor condenses into water droplets on the surface. And these water droplets on the surfaces are called as dew. Okay. Next is mist. Mist is what? Here as well, mist, fog. These take place mainly in winters. Mainly in winters we have seen. So what happens? Mist, as air get cooled, relative humidity increases or decreases? As temperature decreases, relative humidity increases. So, and so therefore, mainly mist and fog, they are formed in winter. As air get cooled, relative humidity increases. So what happens? During winters, in the near the surface, what happens? The air contains the water vapor. So water vapor is present, and it get converted into what? It get condensed into water droplets. It get condensed, and water droplets in small in air is formed, and they get suspended in the air, and mist is formed. So in mist, the visibility is around 2 kilometers. It is within 2 kilometers we can see. Okay. Fog is nothing but kind of mist. Here, mainly the fog, the water vapor condenses on dust particles. Dust particles are present in atmosphere, and water vapor condenses on these dust particles. So again, condensation takes place, and here visibility is less than 1 kilometer. So mainly difference between mist and fog is the visibility. Fog less than 1 kilometer, mist it is 2 kilometer. Here water vapor condenses water droplets. In fog mainly it is condenses, and this condensation takes place on the dust particles. The water vapor condenses on the dust particles. This is fog. There is one more, haze is there, but this is not in syllabus. Here visibility is around 20 kilometers. Haze, it is mainly happens in cities where pollution is there. Because of pollution, it gets suspended and water get droplets, water vapor condenses on those smoke and dust particles. Very less visibility. Its visibility is around 20 kilometers. This is clear mist, fog. What is more there? Okay, then process of this we can discuss afterwards. Precipitation. Frost is remaining. Frost. So see here what happens in frost. Here mist and fog. Water vapor converted into water droplets. Now see in frost what happens? If dew point is below freezing, point, so though water vapor will get converted directly into ice. So water vapor will get directly converted into ice. So if dew point is below the freezing point, that means the water vapor will directly converted into snow or ice, and it get so like we have the cherries and all crops. So here the water vapor will get converted into frost, and this is very dangerous for the crops because ice ice, it expands after 4 degrees Celsius. Water expands again after 4 degrees Celsius. So ice breaks down the veins of the plants or the fruits. That's how it is very damaging for the crops. Okay. So go through it once, whatever we discussed up to precipitation. Up to mist, you go through it. If you have any doubt, you can ask in next lecture. Then we will start precipitation. Okay. Any doubt you have?
Can we leave?
Anything you're... Yes, you can leave.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any doubt you have, you can ask now regarding project or anything.
No, sir.
No doubt. Good.
No, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.